In today's episode, I talk with the amazing Max Whiteley. Max had an incredible journey going from zero leads to bringing in £70,000 worth of fees each month. We talk about personal branding, his approach to LinkedIn marketing, as well as other great topics. If you want to receive more content like this and transform the way your firm approaches lead generation, click the link below to join my mailing list. But for now, enjoy the episode. Hey, welcome to this week's podcast. I've got Max over at Dex today. Max, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. So yeah, as Tom said, my name is Max. I am a chartered accountant by trade. I was an accountant in practice for 12 years, and I loved it that much that I left the industry and then now work for Dex in a sort of a product domain role. So effectively, what I do is I work for Dex. I talk to accountants. I find out what pain points they have, and I try and help the product team at Dex to build the product around those pain points and address them. So that's me. But previously, in my time in practice, I started when I was 15, worked at like a small family-run firm. I then moved to UHY Hacker Young in Manchester, and I was part of their cloud team and sort of developed that there. And then most recently, I was associate director at Accounts and Legal, where I created and headed up their Liverpool office. So with that came a whole heap of challenges from not just being an accountant anymore, but trying to build a firm, manage people, and all of those wonderful things, which came with great reward, but also great grafting, a significant amount of learning in a short period of time. So that's me, and that's my journey so far.
Quite a nice journey, I think, a bit of a varied journey. Knowing you, obviously, personally, you've gone from like accountant to salesperson to kind of in charge of making products better for accountants, which is like a really nice little cycle. Obviously, today, what we're going to talk about specifically is, like the lead generation element, because I know that, especially when you joined Accounts and Legal, you had a lot of learnings, didn't you? And there's some like, you're doing great stuff, but there's a couple of tweaks here and there and some things that you did that really, really changed. I guess what I want to dive into a little bit more is that side where you started, when you first started doing business development and what that was like.
Yeah, sure thing. So, I mean, for me, I've always liked the personal branding stuff. I've always liked getting out there. I'm quite an extroverted person. I probably wasn't the most technical accountant in the world, so um, people often saw that from an early age and would like focus me a bit more towards like getting from the clients and doing a bit more of the sales and marketing stuff as opposed to sitting behind a curtain doing tax returns and whatnot. So I was quite lucky to Stuart Hurst, who I worked for, saw that in me and would promote me to build my personal brand, get me in front of the clients, and go networking and get exposed to all that stuff. So it was great. I got some good learnings, and to learn from Stuart at the time was great in terms of doing that. However, if I came forward with a lead that I've got from social media or that I've got from a networking event, it was great. It was fine. It was like amazing. This sort of junior, semi-senior, senior accountant is bringing in leads that's not really expected of someone of their level. However, when that flips, and obviously I'm now in charge of an office, and
Mm.
I've got a cash flow or a forecast that I've written out myself, that I've told myself that I'm going to have XYZ clients by this time. The pressure starts to mount, and I think I definitely started to flap in terms of like I was just doing everything and anything to try and get leads and to build a pipeline, and um, yeah, it was quite scary at the start when you'd maybe win one client or two clients a month. At the same time, when I'm trying to service the new clients that are coming in through other means and whatnot. So um, I always found it was like something I'd be doing last minute, and time wasn't something I had bags of. I was working pretty long hours at the time, so um, I always felt like I was rushing everything, and I was just trying to. I was doing a lot of volume work and things like that. I wasn't really focusing on the quality. So even though I was getting in front of a lot of people, I wasn't generating much in terms of leads and whatnot. And I know this is something also we spoke to in the past. Me and Tom spent a lot of time sort of like connecting during the sort of
Mm.
like lockdown and COVID period around some of these pieces. But as an accountant, I am quite factual. Like like I have probably more sales than most accountants, but I would be
Yeah.
get in front of clients. I would tell them the service that I think they need, and I would just be like, right, okay, you know where I am if you ever need to come to me. And I just assume that because people weren't contacting me back, that they didn't want my service. And in fact, what the truth is that small business owners are just as busy as us, as accountants and business and accountancy owners. So um, they themselves need a bit more of a clearer call to action. They need to have answered the pain points directly on a sales call. They need to be followed up, and they need to be nurtured along that journey in terms of um, taking them from a connection to a lead into a client. And it was definitely something that I worked quite hard on in terms of not just well through the whole journey really. So it was like for a starter in terms of like content and how I would approach like networking events, or how I would approach my social media content. It wasn't just like great content, but like there was like, right, okay, we've got some great content here. First of all, this content needs to go in front of the right people. So how do I go about connecting, commenting, and like networking in those right circles, and using even like the Boolean search on LinkedIn, which a lot of people don't use, in terms of like where I would be like, right, okay, marketing directors in people who own marketing companies in the Northwest. Because I was doing some good work in that
Mhm.
area, I would search them, and it would give me a full list of the business owners, and I'd be connected with them. And a lot of my content then would be focused towards those marketing companies. So they would, the right content would be in front of the right people effectively, not just out there to try and probably impress other accountants, which I probably did from a young age. That was something I did. It was like, this sort of like echo chamber of, getting, you know, getting a round, pat on the back and a round of applause from other accountants, which is great. Don't get me wrong. If you're a junior accountant, senior accountant like me, it was great in terms of, and it's probably partially why I've got the role I have today in terms of getting that role. But if you are a business owner and you want to, make money and put food on the table for your family, that content isn't for accountants. That content's got to be for the clients who are going to pay your bills. So first of all, it was like getting the right people in front of the right content, and then it was, how do I get them to reach out? Because like what you will see, like for example, even at Dext, I've started a campaign about helping people to utilize the product better. And I have tons of people that come up to me and say, that's absolutely amazing, loving it. And yet there's 5 people who've liked the post and no one's commented on it. People are out there looking at your content, and you just need a way of getting them from just viewing it and looking at it and making decisions. So that is where I sort of made a bit of the change in terms of like the pillars of content that I would suggest. And we spoke about this before, but it wasn't just I posted some personal stuff, I posted some good stuff about accounting, but it was like it would probably be that the the pillar of like the technical thing that really sort of reached out to someone and hit that pain point and gave a clear call to action of how they can come about and contact me, for them to then reach out and start that relationship. And that would probably be the post that would get the less reach, the less reaction. However, it would hit the person directly, and it would have a clear call to action and bring them to me. In terms of it's great in terms of like waiting for people to come to your door. For me, I felt like I didn't really have time to wait for people to come to me and just post this content. Because being truthfully honest, to build a personal brand, to build great content, you're looking at 6 months. Like it's not something that takes a couple of seconds. It's something that you work hard on. You have a content plan. You have, for me, it was like I had a personal pillar. I had, which was really, you want to, it's probably like landfill content, but effectively
Mm.
it does for me. It was the stuff that got a lot of connections, brought a lot of people to the page. Then I would have like the sort of like more like social proofing, so like stories about clients, things about reviews and interactions I've had with clients. And then the third one would be that the technical post with the more of a direct insight to a pain point, and would that's they were the posts that would bring the clients in. But like I said, I didn't have time to wait for this, so I did have to go about getting in front of these clients. And what I would do is probably quite aggressive, and this probably wasn't comfortable with me at the start. It probably won't be comfortable with most people, but I used to do like Loom videos and things like that at the start. Um, I basically I'd connect with 100 people who had marketing companies in the UK, in the Northwest. I'd jump onto their profile, I'd look down, I'd read, right, okay, within 30 seconds I can understand that they're from Manchester, there's their office near us, who am I connected with, that they're connected with, is there something they've posted about, do they like running, do they like something, might be pretty basic, if nothing, let's just let's just crack on. I'd be like, right, okay. I would share my screen with a picture of me in the corner of their LinkedIn page, and I'd be like, this is probably not what you want to receive. I wouldn't. I might lie and say this is not a cold video, but that's exactly what it is, and it's a cold video from an accountant. What could be worse? However, give me 2 seconds, I might be able to help you. I'm working with a lot of marketing agencies. They struggle with their clients with project overrun, and the way they do their proposals with clients, and having real cash flow problems because they're only billing their clients at the end of a website build or project build. If this sounds like something you're dealing with, I'd love to show you what we've been doing in working with our marketing agencies around tracking costs and ensuring they're running a profitable business. And literally within, you could have, I don't know, 10 videos done within an hour pretty easily. You could probably do it a lot quicker than that. And that personal approach, the unapologetic sort of outreach, keeping it sort of not very salesy, very direct to the point, and especially if it comes from an accountant or the owner of an accountancy firm, it is quite appealing. And I was probably booking 2 meetings for every 10 videos that I was sending out, so it was quite a high
Wow.
like conversion rate on that. So that was something that I was doing, and it was probably just like more of a panic thing for me. I felt like I was like panicking and just doing this whole like volume approach. I even used a tool called like Apollo.io, which was like an email marketing tool where you could just it brought the data from LinkedIn. But again, like some of these automation tools, if you abuse them, like probably I was doing, like doesn't come across quite well. I used to get emails saying like, I don't own a marketing company, leave me alone, and
Yeah.
things like
Yeah, you've
that.
got to be
So
careful, right?
yeah, and it probably didn't probably wasn't the best way to go about things in terms of that. And I was always probably just thinking about the next lead instead of looking at like my current pot of potential clients. So um, that's where I think obviously me and you worked quite closely together, and you helped me sort of understand that I'd have this great sort of list of like potential clients of like 100 grand's worth of potential work in there, and I'd be like looking at it thinking like just waiting for it to land, and like I wasn't doing anything about like why did that person not make a decision on the call or like immediately after? Why, like, what do I need to do to get them into now being a client? Instead, I was just going out like, let's put 10 grand on this list. Let's put like, and I was just adding volume and doing a lot of like being a bit of a busy fool around my sales portfolio and not addressing, where it was going wrong, what I needed to do to get it going. And then obviously when we spoke around that and like a bit more sort of, there was like obviously lots of factors to what I did. And for me, it was asking the right questions was a lot of it in terms of on them calls and giving them the opportunity to tell me any friction they had with my proposal before that call ended without having to sort of like be direct and asking them to sign up on the call, which a lot of them, in my experience, probably wouldn't do. But asking them like, is there any reason why you wouldn't, do this, or is there anything that would hold you back? What was the issue with your previous accountant? Like, what would you rate your previous accountant out of 10? Why was that? And then if there is any pricing concerns, you can sort of like revolve it back to, you know, well, you did say your previous accountant was a 3 out of 10. I know we are a bit more expensive, but the service we provided, and you could have another bite of the cherry without having them to go away, mull it over, and think about it and change their own mind on what they want. So a lot of it was, that process of what to say within the sales call, what to do within the sales call, but then also the follow up. Like I said before, follow up was something that I just really didn't do. I found it
Mm.
as an accountant, not salesperson. I found it like I didn't want to like push myself on people, didn't want to chase people. And it's not about that. Like sometimes they really appreciate that you've chased them up on it. And it was teeing that chase up like just before we end the call. Obviously we'd love to work together. Can we put like a follow-up date? This was obviously something you were quite heavily about, and managing that expectation and then meeting that expectation of like, let's speak about this in XYZ 1 week, 2 weeks. And if I
Yeah.
haven't have a decision from you, am I okay to drop you an email, drop you a call? And at that point, if they're the sort of person who does not want you to, they want to be left alone, they will tell you. But most people are like, oh yeah, great. I'm actually going on holiday. I'm really busy. Yeah, give us a call in this date, as opposed to me emailing them and not asking them a question, it lands when they're on holiday or they're not interested, and they come back and they can't be bothered dealing with it, and you get lost within the pipeline, and then I wouldn't chase again because I've already chased once. Um, so it was that whole sort of like mindset of shift of like, you know, you're not bothering people as part of that chase up. Make it make a plan, keep yourself and them accountable, and help them along the journey as opposed to yeah, you're feeling like you're constantly putting it on them from a sales point of view.
Yeah, and I think managing that expectation early doors is a really important aspect. One thing I would always say to people, especially accountants, is I was like, it's okay for you to tell me no, because if you don't tell me no and you say, oh, I'll think about it, really you want to say no, I'm going to spend the next 4 or 5 weeks chasing you. That's going to probably take 15 minutes or so, probably with calls, emails, and maybe dropping you a LinkedIn comment or something. So 15 minutes across 4 weeks. I'm going to spend about, on my own time, an
Yeah,
hour chasing you. I'm probably going to interfere your time maybe about 30 minutes. So by you not saying no, which is fine, or not giving me a decision, we together are going to lose about 90 minutes of time. So just tell me no. And
yeah,
actually, people are like, oh, like, I think there's going to be some right now that probably sit there and go, oh, that's really like super salesy, super not. But anywhere in your life, if for example, say, and then you go to a restaurant, right, and you go to a Spanish restaurant, and they'll go, oh, you want the paella, and they go, yeah, it's going to be 45 minutes. Are you okay with that? They've just set an expectation. You're like, yeah, cool. Like that's not them trying to put me off something. That's them going, yeah, actually, yeah, I've had my expectations managed.
yeah,
You
yeah. So
you form that
yeah,
coherent conversation. I remember people, oh my god, and when I tell people that, everyone goes, oh, that's super like super salesy, super. Actually, people that I've said that to go, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like it'll be yes, no, or when I need to go and speak to, because sometimes you might speak to the business director, and for whatever reason, somebody might be on holiday and they can't make the call. So you have called with a 50% owner. You've got the other half of that ownership that you need to then speak with. So it's like,
yeah,
okay, cool. We'll decide in like 1 week's time. I guess you've had a lot of different experience there. One of the things that I really want to drill into is the lead generation. So not so much about getting the sales. I know there's a lot of accounts out there, and when they rely on referrals a lot, and referrals they have this kind of like upper limit where eventually they'll not be as great, or the volume might drop, and then you see accounts kind of normally turn to LinkedIn and start posting all the time. When it came to your lead generation, where did you start?
where did I start? Probably LinkedIn, like most, to be fair. I think LinkedIn is probably where I went to. A mixture of LinkedIn and networking, I would say. So I'd be quite heavily networking, and I found that if I would connect with people whilst I was networking, and I posted a lot of content on LinkedIn, I was effectively continuing to network with these people without them sort of realizing it. Yeah, for me, it was social media content. Like the when things got a little bit more serious, I was doing a bit more outreach in terms of like video outreach, like I mentioned earlier. I did that on Instagram and on LinkedIn, which I think obviously accountants like to focus on LinkedIn. But what I would say is just like remember who your audience are, especially if you're in that sort of SME um, market. There's a lot of great businesses out there who are not really bothered about LinkedIn, especially the customer facing ones. So um, I would always say don't forget about the other platforms, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, where there are business owners on there. A lot of architects, even they're great. They're great for accountants because they have like
Mm.
2 invoices a month and big value stuff, and like a lot of them they manage their portfolios on Instagram. That's where the people manage their work and stuff, and they're not really too active on LinkedIn. So for me, it was like understanding first of all who your clients are and where they live, and then going after them that way. Um, and then yeah, it was a bit of a volume based thing for me at the start, and that was just like if I cast my net that wide, that I'll catch something. However, you sort of become you know attracted to nobody really. You're not really hitting
Mm.
any direct pain points. So I don't necessarily have to be a niche in terms of like an industry or a like a line of work, but it might just be the type of person you're after. And just yeah, I mean, Stu, who I work for, he's great at doing this. Like he will ruffle a lot of feathers in terms of like people will think, oh, like I completely disagree with that content, don't agree with that whatsoever, and he'll halve the market of who will approach him. However, to the half that liked that content, they were super attractive to it and they loved it and they resonated with the pain point and his wording and the way he was. And that's something I learned of, quite, you don't have to please everyone. Your content doesn't have to be for everyone. It also just has to be yourself. You don't have to be someone else. And I think I did that for some time. Like I think I tried to be Stu. I could see how well it was working for him and I tried to like
Mm.
emulate that and be someone that I wasn't. And for me, I got like I would get like significant like writer's block or like I couldn't think of content and it was like really stressing me out in terms of like I don't know what to post about because I probably wasn't being 100% genuine in terms of like myself and how I am. So I think it is good to sort of like get your own tone of voice. And if you do need support in terms of writing, like you're a trained accountant, you're not a trained PR publicist. Like I'm dyslexic. I struggle with content. I used to like send you content and say like
What did you think?
review what do you think, review this, or like get someone in the team to review write it. Or I even for some time had a bit of like help in terms of like ghostwriting with my marketing team where I would sit down with them, I would plaster them with bullet points, they'd give me about some content, I'd put my tone of voice on and it would go out. So like, don't be afraid to get help. It doesn't have to always be from you, and like the ideas can come from you. You don't have to be the person who, um, manages to create it and put it into a storytelling. Like you as an accountant might know something about trivial benefits and how great that is for your client to get six £50 vouchers for their directors that are tax free, or you give it to a marketing person and they spin the whole thing around on its head and they're talking about buying your kids presents for Christmas or da 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 da, and being able to take your technical knowledge that you've built over many years into this sort of like storytelling and making it into something that will generate leads from people who aren't accountants, who are business owners, who do have kids and who are thinking, right, okay, that really does resonate with me. My accountant's not told me anything like that. Would love to have a chat. So yeah, I would say be yourself. Don't be afraid to get help on this subject. It's not the easiest thing in the world, and yeah,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And people that I work with and like coach, one of the things I always tell them about is content buckets, right? You probably about 7 different content buckets based on the problems that the people you're looking after have, as well as your own personal branding, right? So you might have, let's take you, right? Let's take Dex. You could say one of your content buckets is literally about all things Dex extension and all the problems that sit under that. And then that's one of your buckets. So you know that when you're thinking about a content idea, okay, let me talk about Dex extension and how it helps these people here, whatever that might be. And I think you touched on it there, is understanding you yourself. Because one of the biggest things I see is a lot of people head to LinkedIn. They then just try and put lots of different stuff out. Some people put videos out, some people put written words out. And actually, you've got some people that are putting videos out, but actually they're such better writers. And I follow some people now, and they don't post anything other than written text. They get crazy levels of engagement. People
yeah,
say, I've just DM'd you now, like I need you as an accountant. And I've got other people that do videos that get 4, 5, 6 likes, thousands of impressions, and their inbox is lit up all the time. It's
yeah,
such a finding that. But the one big thing, and this is something that I think I'm pretty sure I told you, is you have to polarize people, because if people don't love you or don't feel a certain way about you, then they're not going to take that next action. And when people love you, because it's easier for people to kind of hate on you a little bit, which is a weird thing to say, right? Like, and when I say hate on you, I mean disagree and don't like this, or this is not for me, or I've got a completely different opinion. And
yeah,
when you've got people doing that, you're doing the right thing, because I don't know your experience on this, but you'll get a lot more people that disagree or say this isn't right. They'll be a lot more vocal. And actually, the people that do agree with you won't necessarily be outwardly vocal, but they'll be either on your DMs or your website or your landing page.
yeah, correct. absolutely the same. And I think it's in the same as like, as an accountant and a business advisor. I would always say to my clients, like it's something we learned in college. I can't remember the name of the matrix, but it'd be like um, you're either going to be a cost leader, like leader in quality, a leader in some sort of differentiation or whatnot. But if you get caught in the middle of that, these people will pick their favorites, and you will get caught in this sort of like grey land. And that is from like a product strategy, but also from like a marketing strategy. And yeah, like that was evident with like with Stu. You would often see people talking negatively about him. I would get people saying stuff negatively about Stu to me. People would kick off on social media, other accountants, and I mean, don't get me wrong, like there might be other ways you want to go about your content, but I can say for fact, like his inbox has got leads in it and a consistent flow of leads. So and I think when I worked that out in terms of like being myself and understanding my own contact, who I'm speaking to, and I would then get clients who were on my wavelength, and then once they came through as a lead, then um, I obviously had a lot of connection with them from the start because they like my content anyway. They probably have a similar personality, and you're already on such a front foot in terms of that. Like I said, in terms of like video or written content. If you post written content and people love reading that like long form technical pieces, then they're going to come on the call. They're of that mindset. They're technical people. They like the detail. They like the quality and assurance that you're giving in your posts. Already you're of a similar mindset as opposed to you going about doing TikTok dances when it's completely not your thing, and then you get people onto the call who are extroverted, like creative people who just don't resonate with you whatsoever, and you'll struggle to turn that lead into a paying client. So yeah, definitely a fair point.
Yeah. Okay. And just when you obviously, we started at one point and you were like, I need to get leads, I need to get to this point. You made these tweaks and these changes. You had got some help with your content. When you finished, like just before you left, obviously to go to Dex, what kind of position did you find yourself in?
I was closing probably about £70,000 worth of annual recurring revenue per month, which was wild. I did that sort of like 3 months back to back, towards the back end, just getting a big pipeline, having a good process, working with others to keep me accountable for hitting them. So me and Stu would often sit there and we'd have like a spreadsheet of like how many posts you've done, what's the impressions, what have you done, and looking at the drivers to what was generating the leads at the start. So yeah, keeping someone accountable for me was another thing that was massive. And if you don't have someone internally, then externally is also great. And yeah, it was a steady flow. To be fair, towards the end, it was we had a good pipeline to the point in which we were turning away work, and we were only bringing in the stuff that we really wanted, that we thought we could add value to, but also would be good value for us running the business. So yeah, was hitting figures of like £70,000 worth of annual recurring work in a month. I did that like 3 months back to back. So was super happy with where I'd got to and where I was. And yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And I guess what's the one thing that you did that made probably the biggest impact?
Suppose it's that self belief and the the ability to believe that you are providing a quality service, the great service, and don't shy away from getting a no, um, and addressing people on the call in terms of like one, the follow up is great, but also like hitting that pain point on the call. I think that was something that when that was coached into me, and it gave me the like the self belief to back myself and to put it onto the client. Like I've answered all your questions. I think we'd be great working together. Like, is there any reason why you wouldn't work with me? And that's like have the confidence to ask uncomfortable questions and potentially get an uncomfortable answer, which you can 90% of the time answer on the call, and to give you a bit more of a clearer pathway to whether this person is going to become a client or not, and what you need to do to make them become a client. Because if it is price sensitive, there might be something you can do around right, okay, well, I'm that confident that this is going to be a great service for you that if you don't like my service after 3 months, I'll give you the difference between what you're paying your current accountant and what you're going to be paying me back without any questions asked. And never once
Wow.
have I've give that promise out. I think 50 times, because we were like quite a premium service, and it was one person which I paid back, and it was a technical error where I couldn't get the zero bank fee to work with the bank, and it was a whole nightmare. But that's a story for another time. But I would
Yeah.
stand here and say that I never actually paid anyone back, but there was one time which I paid them back the difference, which wasn't massive to say the least. But the 49 other wins that I got from that solution, having that confidence, addressing problems on a call and chasing up and following up properly, was the real difference for me in terms of making it work.
Yeah, it's that, like you said, it's that self belief. And at the end of the day, it's your business. Somebody wouldn't come in and say, you need to run your business like this. And you go, yeah, cool, that's great. It's your business. So if you want to help a client out a specific way, help them out that way. If you want to go and send 100 email with videos in there to people, great. It's your business. Have like the belief that you're going to go
Yep.
and do that. So I think that kind of brings us to a natural kind of conclusion. Where can people find you? What should people do from now?
Sure thing. Like I said, I post all sorts of random waffle on my LinkedIn, so please do come and connect me on LinkedIn, Max Whiteley. If you're a DEX user, um, I'm on a mission to get people utilising the product properly, because I don't believe people are completely utilising the product properly, as we keep getting compared to other competitors who, in my opinion, aren't quite as good. But I also post a lot of stuff around about yeah, sales, development, and building personal brands. So please do follow me and check me out. And if you have any questions or you want to touch into my experience in practice or anything in between, I'll be more than happy to help. So yeah, thank you very much, Tom, for having me. And yeah, hopefully this is just the start of a flourishing journey.
Yeah, absolutely.